Have you ever felt the sharp sting of betrayal when someone you trusted let you down? Maybe it was a friend who broke a promise. Or perhaps a stranger whose harsh words lingered in your mind longer than you'd like to admit. These moments, whether small or large, have a way of shaking us, don't they? They leave us questioning not only others but sometimes even ourselves. Now, let's pause for a moment and reflect. What do we usually do in these situations? For most of us, the instinct is to react, whether it's anger, disappointment, or sadness. We might lash out, withdraw, or let the pain simmer within. But what if I told you there's another way? Imagine this: instead of reacting, you embrace the unexpected. Instead of letting the actions of others dictate your peace, you become so grounded and unshakable that their behavior no longer disturbs your inner calm. Sounds impossible, right? Yet, this is exactly what the teachings of Zen and Buddhism reveal to us: a path where life's challenges, no matter how unsettling, can be met with grace and strength. On today's episode of Peaceful Horizons, we'll journey into this transformative perspective. Together, we'll uncover the ancient wisdom of Zen masters, explore timeless stories that illuminate the art of acceptance, and discover practical steps that you can use to become unmovable in the face of life's turbulence. But why should you care? Why does this matter to you? Because disappointment is universal. It doesn't matter who you are, where you live, or what you do. At some point, life will challenge your expectations. A promise will be broken. A relationship will falter. Or a dream won't unfold as planned. And in those moments, how you respond will define not only your peace of mind but also your personal growth. By the end of this video, you'll have something invaluable: the power to transform disappointment into an opportunity for liberation. You'll learn how to confuse those who expect you to react, not with anger or sadness, but with an acceptance so profound it unsettles them and frees you. So, if you've ever felt that inner tug-of-war between reacting and letting go, this video is for you. Stay with me, and together we'll navigate this beautiful and complex dance of life, mastering the art of stillness amidst the chaos. Welcome to Peaceful Horizons, where wisdom meets everyday life. Let's begin this journey to uncover the calm that already resides within you. At the heart of disappointment lies one undeniable truth: unmet expectations. We all set expectations, whether consciously or subconsciously, about how people should behave or how situations should unfold. When reality doesn't align with those expectations, disappointment strikes. It's like a crack in the foundation of our emotional balance. But why does this feel so personal? Why does disappointment often spiral into anger or frustration? The answer lies in the ego, the part of us that clings to control and demands validation. When someone fails to meet our expectations, the ego interprets it as an affront, a challenge to our sense of self-worth or authority. This is why minor slights can sometimes feel disproportionately painful. From a Zen perspective, however, disappointment is not caused by others but by our attachment to these expectations. Zen teaches us that life is inherently unpredictable, and control is nothing more than an illusion. Think of life as a flowing river. We can't dictate the current or prevent stones from appearing in our path. Instead, we can choose how to navigate it. A key Zen saying captures this wisdom beautifully: the wind cannot disturb a mountain, nor can disappointment shake a mind at peace. This phrase reminds us that peace isn't about avoiding challenges, it's about remaining unshaken when they arise. Like a mountain, we can cultivate a steadfast inner calm that withstands life's turbulent winds. Let's consider a real-world example from the life of Nelson Mandela. one of the most respected figures in modern history. Mandela spent 27 years in prison, unjustly detained under a brutal apartheid regime. Imagine the depths of disappointment he must have felt, betrayed by his government, separated from his family, and forced to endure unimaginable hardships. Mandela had every reason to succumb to anger and bitterness. Yet, he chose a different path. Instead of reacting to his oppressors with rage, he used his time in prison to reflect and grow. He embraced acceptance, not of the injustice itself, but of the reality he faced. This acceptance allowed him to preserve his inner peace and focus on a greater purpose, unity and reconciliation for South Africa. His famous words, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies," echo the Zen wisdom of letting go of expectations and choosing peace over reaction. On a more personal level, I recall a time when I was deeply hurt by a friend who broke a promise. My immediate reaction was anger. I felt betrayed and wanted to confront them. But after sitting with my feelings, I realized something crucial. My pain stemmed not from their actions but from the expectations I had placed on them. I had assumed they'd prioritize my needs. And when they didn't, I took it personally. This moment was a turning point for me. By releasing those expectations and accepting the situation as it was, I found clarity. It wasn't about condoning their behavior but about freeing myself from the emotional turmoil it caused. Understanding disappointment through this lens shifts the narrative. It's no longer about what others did wrong but about how we interpret and respond to their actions. When we release our grip on expectations and embrace the unpredictability of life, we discover a profound strength within ourselves. Like Mandela, we can transform disappointment into growth. And like the mountain in the Zen saying, we can remain steady, no matter how fiercely the winds blow. The story of the seeker and the Zen master offers timeless wisdom wrapped in simplicity. A young seeker, burdened by the weight of betrayal and disillusionment, approached the master in search of peace. His words were charged with urgency and frustration. "Master, I feel betrayed by the world. Promises are broken. Loyalty is fleeting. And people disappoint me at every turn. My heart burns with frustration. How can I find peace?" The master, calm and composed, responded not with immediate advice but with a task. He handed the seeker a clay bowl and said, "Take this bowl, fill it with water from the river, and bring it back without spilling a drop." Puzzled but obedient, the seeker carefully filled the bowl and began the journey back. As he approached the master, he noticed the elder sweeping fallen leaves. Suddenly, the master deliberately bumped into him, causing the water to spill. "Why did you do that?" the seeker exclaimed, his voice tinged with anger. The master smiled gently and asked, "Why are you angry? Did I not warn you that the world would test your balance? Yet here you stand, upset by something you should have expected." This simple interaction held profound wisdom. The master's lesson, embodied in the bowl, was a metaphor for navigating life's trials with balance and mindfulness. Life is unpredictable, and we cannot control every bump in the road. But we can control our reaction to it. The water-filled bowl symbolizes the delicate balance we must maintain as we navigate life. External forces, the master's deliberate bump, or the unpredictable challenges of life, are inevitable. But how we respond determines whether we spill our emotional water or remain composed. Balance requires mindfulness, the ability to stay present and grounded even when life tests us. In another lesson, the master asked the seeker, "When the rain falls, do you curse the clouds? When the wind blows, do you scold the air?" The seeker, perplexed, admitted he did not. The master explained. Then why do you react so strongly when people act according to their nature? Like the rain and wind. People follow their own paths, paths that are often unpredictable and beyond your control. This insight reframes disappointment. Rather than viewing others' actions as personal affronts, we can see them as reflections of their own circumstances and choices, independent of our worth. This wisdom is as relevant today as it was centuries ago. Consider workplace conflicts. A colleague takes credit for your idea, leaving you frustrated and hurt. Reacting impulsively, perhaps with anger or accusations, might escalate the conflict. Instead, viewing their actions as a reflection of their own insecurities can help you approach the situation with calmness and tact. In personal relationships, unmet expectations often lead to disappointment. Imagine a friend cancelling plans at the last minute. Instead of feeling personally slighted, recognizing that their behavior might stem from stress or unforeseen circumstances can prevent unnecessary resentment. The master's words about the rain and wind are a powerful reminder. People's actions are often shaped by their own struggles, fears, and circumstances, not by judgments of our worth. This realization liberates us from the cycle of reaction. Instead of taking others' actions personally, we can observe them with understanding and respond with grace. By practicing the Master's teachings, we learn to protect our inner peace, even in the face of life's inevitable bumps and spills. As the Seeker discovered, true peace isn't found in controlling the world but in mastering our reactions to it. Acceptance is often misinterpreted as a sign of weakness. Many equate it with passive submission or an inability to stand up for oneself. However, true acceptance is not about condoning harmful behavior or giving up, it's about recognizing reality as it is, without being controlled by it. Acceptance requires immense inner strength because it means resisting the ego's impulse to react, blame, or control. When negativity arises, whether through conflict, disappointment, or betrayal, acceptance disarms it. By refusing to engage in the cycle of reaction, we strip negativity of its power. Instead of fanning the flames of anger or resentment, we allow them to dissipate. This is not an act of surrender but a deliberate choice to prioritize peace over turmoil. The analogy of the pond perfectly captures this concept. When a pebble is thrown into a still pond, ripples spread across the surface. These ripples represent the disturbances we face in life: criticism, failure, or unexpected challenges. But beneath the ripples, the pond's core remains undisturbed. Similarly, cultivating acceptance enables us to maintain inner calm even when life's surface feels chaotic. A powerful example of acceptance in action comes from the life of Mahatma Gandhi. During India's struggle for independence, Gandhi was often publicly ridiculed, arrested, and physically attacked by those who opposed him. One notable incident occurred when he was leading a peaceful protest, and a man confronted him, shouting insults and spitting at him. Instead of reacting with anger or defending himself, Gandhi calmly wiped his face and said, "You may have your feelings, but they do not dictate my actions." This act of acceptance disarmed his aggressor. By refusing to engage in conflict, Gandhi maintained his dignity and demonstrated the power of non-reaction. Over time, his ability to accept hostility without retaliation inspired millions, proving that acceptance can be a profound act of strength and influence. When faced with a challenging situation, take a moment to breathe before responding. This pause creates space between the stimulus and your reaction, allowing you to choose your response thoughtfully. For example, imagine receiving harsh criticism at work. Instead of immediately defending yourself or reacting emotionally, pause and consider whether the critique holds any merit. This moment of reflection can transform an impulsive reaction into a constructive response. Many disappointments stem from unmet expectations. Ask yourself, what was I expecting? And why? Recognizing that your expectations might not align with reality can help you release them and accept the situation as it is. For instance, if a friend cancels plans, instead of feeling hurt, remind yourself that life is unpredictable and people have their own struggles. This shift in perspective can prevent resentment. Acceptance doesn't mean suppressing your emotions, it means responding with clarity and compassion. Seek to understand the other person's perspective or circumstances rather than jumping to conclusions. Consider a leader like Nelson Mandela, who, after being imprisoned for 27 years, emerged without bitterness. Instead of seeking revenge, he chose understanding and forgiveness, uniting a divided nation. This response was rooted in acceptance, acknowledging past wrongs without letting them define the future. True acceptance is an act of immense strength. It allows us to break free from the cycle of reaction and remain grounded amidst life's uncertainties. Like the stillness of the pond's core, acceptance doesn't eliminate disturbances but prevents them from shaking our inner peace. By pausing, reflecting, and responding with understanding, we can cultivate this strength within ourselves and transform even the most challenging situations into opportunities for growth. In the teachings of Buddhism, forgiveness is not just a virtue but a path to liberation. It is the act of releasing resentment and anger, not for the benefit of the person who caused harm, but for one's own inner peace. Holding on to anger and grudges is akin to the Buddhist analogy, it's like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. The poison here is our own anger, which eats away at our well-being, while the other person may remain unaffected or even unaware of our turmoil. Forgiveness and acceptance are closely intertwined. Acceptance allows us to see reality for what it is, people and situations as they are, not as we wish them to be. Forgiveness is the next step, choosing to let go of the emotional weight tied to that reality. It doesn't mean excusing harmful actions or ignoring injustice. Instead, it is a conscious decision to free ourselves from the chains of bitterness, allowing us to move forward unburdened. Anger, when unchecked, becomes a heavy burden. It consumes mental energy, disrupts relationships, and clouds judgment. Renowned psychologist and Holocaust survivor Viktor Frankl once said, "Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances." Frankl's perspective highlights that holding on to anger is a choice, and forgiveness offers the freedom to reclaim our emotional sovereignty. One of the most powerful examples of forgiveness comes from Nelson Mandela, the anti-apartheid revolutionary, who spent 27 years in prison under a regime that dehumanized and oppressed millions. When Mandela was released and became South Africa's first black president, he had every reason to harbor resentment against his oppressors. Instead, he chose forgiveness, stating, "Resentment is like drinking poison and then hoping it will kill your enemies." Mandela worked to reconcile a divided nation, extending his hand to those who once persecuted him. This act of forgiveness not only freed Mandela from the emotional chains of hatred but also inspired millions to seek peace over vengeance. His legacy demonstrates that forgiveness is a profound strength, capable of transforming not only individuals but entire societies. Forgiveness does not absolve the wrongdoer of their responsibility. It does not condone harmful behavior or mean we forget the lessons learned. Instead, it shifts the focus from the other person's actions to our own emotional state. By forgiving, we reclaim our power, ensuring that our peace is no longer dictated by external circumstances. Forgiveness has transformative power. For example, I once held onto anger toward a mentor who publicly criticized me in a way that felt deeply personal. At first, I replayed the event in my mind, fueling my resentment. But over time, I realized the criticism, though poorly delivered, had some truth. More importantly, my anger was doing more harm to me than the event itself. Choosing to forgive allowed me to extract the lesson, let go of the pain, and approach future interactions with greater understanding. Forgiveness is not weakness, it is strength. It requires courage to let go of anger and choose peace over retribution. By forgiving, we free ourselves from the chains of resentment, opening the door to a life of greater clarity and freedom. Whether it's a personal slight, or a profound injustice, forgiveness empowers us to move forward with grace, unburdened by the past. Acceptance and non-reaction are transformative forces that extend beyond the individual practicing them. Much like a stone cast into a still pond creates ripples that spread outward, the calm and composed demeanor of one person can influence the emotional atmosphere around them. Non-reaction doesn't mean indifference, instead. It is the conscious choice to meet challenges with clarity and composure rather than impulsive reactions. This approach often diffuses tension, fosters understanding, and inspires others to adopt a similar mindset. When faced with hostility or conflict, the instinctive response is often to retaliate, matching aggression with aggression. However, responding with calmness can unsettle this cycle, forcing those involved to reconsider their actions. Non-reaction disrupts the feedback loop of negativity, creating a space for resolution rather than escalation. For example, during the 1965 Selma to Montgomery marches, Martin Luther King Jr. and his supporters faced intense hostility from authorities and opposition groups. Instead of responding to violence with violence, King advocated nonviolent resistance, demonstrating incredible composure under pressure. His non-reaction to provocation not only highlighted the moral strength of his cause but also garnered global admiration, putting the spotlight on the injustice he sought to address. King's approach inspired millions to adopt nonviolent methods as a means of achieving social change, proving that calmness in the face of adversity can have far-reaching impacts. Consider the story of Abraham Lincoln during the Civil War. He was often criticized harshly by his political opponents, including those within his administration. One particularly famous instance involved Edwin Stanton, Lincoln's Secretary of War, who publicly referred to Lincoln as a fool. Rather than reacting with anger or seeking retribution, Lincoln chose to maintain a calm demeanor. He later appointed Stanton to his cabinet, valuing his abilities despite their disagreements. Over time, Stanton came to respect Lincoln deeply, ultimately referring to him as the greatest leader of men. Lincoln's non-reaction not only de-escalated a potential conflict but also turned an adversary into an ally. While remaining calm in tense situations may seem challenging, it is a skill that can be cultivated with practice. When faced with a stressful or emotional situation, take a moment to breathe and collect your thoughts. This pause helps break the automatic cycle of reaction and allows you to choose a more measured response. Reflect on the source of the conflict. Is the other person reacting out of their own stress or insecurities? Understanding that others' actions are often not personal can help you respond with empathy rather than defensiveness. Start small by practicing non-reaction in everyday scenarios. For example, if someone cuts you off in traffic or a colleague makes a snide remark, consciously choose not to react. Over time, this habit will become second nature. Visualize yourself as the still pond from Zen teachings. Allow external disturbances to ripple across your surface without disturbing your core. This mental imagery can help you remain composed during conflicts. When we practice non-reaction, our calm energy influences others. A composed response can shift the dynamic of a heated conversation, encourage others to reflect on their behavior, and even inspire them to adopt a more peaceful approach in their interactions. Just as Martin Luther King Jr., Abraham Lincoln, and other leaders demonstrated, non-reaction is not passivity but a profound strength that can create meaningful change. By cultivating this mindset, we not only transform our own lives but also contribute to a more understanding and harmonious world. The ripples of our calmness can reach farther than we ever imagine. Integrating Zen principles into daily life is not just about understanding them intellectually, but actively embodying them through mindfulness, reflection, and meditation. In a world where stress and distractions are constant, applying Zen teachings can help cultivate a sense of inner peace, resilience, and clarity. The practice of mindfulness is central to Zen and involves being fully present in the moment, observing thoughts and emotions without judgment. This awareness allows us to respond more thoughtfully rather than react impulsively. Mindfulness can be applied throughout the day. Whether you're eating, working, or interacting with others. One of the most famous practitioners of mindfulness in the modern era is the Dalai Lama. His ability to remain calm and present, even under intense pressure, demonstrates how mindfulness can ground us. When confronted with challenging situations, such as political pressure or personal attacks, the Dalai Lama remains focused on his inner peace, refusing to be swept away by external chaos. By observing our thoughts and emotions in a similar way, we can begin to detach. A simple way to start practicing mindfulness is to take brief pauses during your day. When you notice yourself becoming overwhelmed or frustrated, stop for a moment, take a deep breath, and observe your thoughts without judgment. Ask yourself, what am I truly feeling right now? Is this feeling helping or hindering me? Journaling is a powerful tool for self-reflection. By writing down our thoughts and reactions, we can track patterns in our behavior and identify areas where we may need to grow. Zen encourages observing the impermanence of our experiences, and journaling can help us gain clarity on how our emotions evolve. Oprah Winfrey, known for her mindfulness practices, often speaks about journaling as a way of achieving self-awareness. By keeping track of her thoughts and emotions over time, she has been able to identify limiting beliefs and personal growth areas. She attributes much of her success to understanding herself more deeply through regular journaling. Set aside time each day to journal about your experiences. Reflect on moments when you felt triggered by disappointment or frustration. Write about how you responded, and whether a different, more Zen approach could have led to a better outcome. This practice will help you track your emotional progress over time. Meditation is at the core of Zen practice and can be incredibly effective for cultivating inner stillness. By sitting in silence and focusing on the breath, we create space between our thoughts and reactions, allowing us to respond with greater clarity and wisdom. The late Steve Jobs, co-founder of Apple, was known for his use of meditation to bring clarity and creativity into his work. He often took breaks during the day to meditate, which helped him remain focused and composed in high-pressure situations. His ability to maintain calmness, even when making life-changing decisions, is a testament to the power of meditation. Start by setting aside 10 to 15 minutes each day for meditation. Sit quietly, focusing on your breath, and allow your thoughts to come and go without attachment. If your mind starts to wander, gently return to the breath. Over time, you will notice greater emotional balance, and the ability to handle stressful situations with more grace. While Zen practices can be transformative, applying them in daily life can be challenging. Acceptance does not mean tolerating unhealthy behavior from others. Zen teaches us to accept things as they are. But it also encourages us to be mindful of our needs. Setting boundaries is essential for maintaining inner peace and well-being. For example, a parent may need to set boundaries with a child who is acting out. Accepting the child's behavior without reacting emotionally is key. But it's also important to set clear limits to guide them. When someone's behavior is testing your patience, take a moment to assess if it's an opportunity for acceptance or a situation that requires boundaries. Set boundaries calmly and assertively, without allowing anger or frustration to dictate your response. Zen teaches the wisdom of non-reaction. But it doesn't mean we should avoid action altogether. Sometimes, the right course of action is to step in and address a problem. Other times, the best response is to let go. In the workplace, when a colleague is being difficult or uncooperative, it can be tempting to force a solution. However, a Zen approach would encourage you to assess whether your intervention is necessary or if it's better to allow the situation to unfold on its own. Practice discernment by asking yourself, is my action helping? Or am I trying to control the situation? Sometimes, taking a step back and allowing things to unfold can create space for natural resolution. Imagine a parent who is overwhelmed by their child's tantrum. Instead of reacting with anger, they use mindfulness to observe their child's emotions without judgment. By calmly addressing the situation, they create an environment where both they and the child can reflect and reset, fostering a more peaceful and understanding dynamic. A professional facing constant workplace stress might practice Zen techniques such as mindful breathing during meetings or journaling to release built-up tension. By focusing on the present moment and remaining calm, they can lead with clarity and empathy, improving not only their own well-being but the work environment as well. By consciously applying Zen teachings, we can bring peace into our everyday lives. Whether it's through mindfulness, journaling, or meditation, these practices help us stay grounded in a world that often feels chaotic. In turn, they empower us to respond to life's challenges with wisdom, patience, and grace. As we come to the end of this exploration into Zen and Buddhist teachings, let's take a moment to reflect on the key lessons we've learned today. Life is inherently unpredictable, and the more we try to control the flow of events, the more we set ourselves up for disappointment. The winds of life will blow, and we must learn to bend, not break. Just like the trees that sway in the storm, true acceptance is not weakness, but the ultimate strength. When we accept life as it is, without judgment or resistance, we free ourselves from the burden of constant struggle. In accepting, we find peace. Holding on to anger is like drinking poison and expecting the other person to suffer. Forgiveness liberates us, releasing the chains of resentment and allowing us to walk forward light and free. The ripple effect of non-reaction can turn hostile situations into opportunities for connection. Your calm presence can be a beacon of peace in the most tumultuous of storms. When you stay grounded, others around you will feel inspired to do the same. Now, as you move forward in your own life, remember the imagery of the pond, the mountain, and the leaf. These symbols embody your journey, a journey not of trying to control life, but of mastering yourself. Just like the still pond, let your heart remain calm even when the external world is chaotic. Like the mountain, let your mind stand firm in the face of life's storms. And like the leaf, learn to embrace the winds of change without being shaken. I invite you to start practicing these teachings in your own life. Take a moment to reflect on your expectations, your reactions, and your relationships. How can you apply acceptance and non-reaction in your day-to-day life? What would it look like if you allowed forgiveness to flow freely within you? I'd love to hear about your journey. Share your experiences, your challenges, and your growth in the comments below. Let's create a community where we can all support one another on this path toward peace and self-mastery. If you found these insights valuable, don't forget to subscribe to Peaceful Horizons for more stories, teachings, and tips to help you live a life of serenity and wisdom. By subscribing, you're joining a community committed to living with intention and mindfulness, one step at a time. Thank you for watching Peaceful Horizons. Let's continue this journey together, one step, one moment, one breath at a time. Until next time, stay peaceful, stay grounded, and let your inner calm guide you through the waves of life. Take care. And remember, true peace begins within.